Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. I'm Cristina Paciura, a lead analyst for IoT at the GSMA Intelligence, the Data and Insights unit of the GSMA, and I'm joined today by Jigar from Flow Live, who are a specialist in IoT connectivity solutions, and Arne from Bayobab, who is a next-generation services company connecting Africa with digital solutions, among which is IoT. The topic of today's webinar is powering global enterprises with IoT. How are mobile network operators keeping up? And we are going to delve into the key findings of a report we recently published with Flow Live support and Bayobab's contribution. To give you more perspective into it, we've prepared a full agenda with a couple of quick presentations from ourselves and a panel of experts from Flow Live and Bayobab. First, I will set the scene sharing our latest research as for enterprises' needs in IoT and MNOs activity and evolving dynamics in the space. After my presentation, Jigar will talk about Flow Live's role and key value proposition in IoT, and then Arne will share the company's IoT experience derived directly from Bayobab's market and their collaboration with Flow Live. Shortly after, we are having a discussion with Jigar and Arne, and we will then receive questions from the audience. Now, a housekeeping rule, please post your questions during the final Q&A session. Starting with the GSMA Intelligence presentation. Now, this research is part of the report we recently published. It's titled as IoT and Mobile Operators, Progress and Pain Points, and this is available to download also in the QR code here, our respective websites, and will be sent out to you after our webinar. Starting with the operator's view in IoT, and based on 100 operators globally, we asked them about their intentions as for continuing in IoT. The result was that 1 in 3 are confident that they have the right strategy and intend on staying. The rest think they should reevaluate. And within them, some parts are more and some others are less confident about staying in IoT. The main takeaway here is that for some operators, IoT is working, the strategy is delivering, perhaps with some adjustments. For more than half those, 2 in 3, more work is needed to get them to a more confident stage about their implemented IoT strategy. After about a decade in IoT, more than half of operators are still focused on connectivity-centric IoT, and that encompasses cellular technologies predominantly, as well as beyond cellular ones, with the rest having moved on to providing more extensive array of services from application enablement to system integration. Now, why is this finding important here? 1, connectivity is important for everyone. It is operators' core business, and they have to get it right. And 2, considering that going after the beyond connectivity IoT was seen as a way to offset falling IoT ARPUs, this hasn't proven easy for everyone. Let's now go on to the enterprise adopters of IoT. Now, at the GSMA Intelligence, we ran an extensive study of more than 4,000 enterprise adopters of digital and communication technologies at the end of 2024. Among enterprise adopters of IoT, cost of implementation was identified as a major deployment challenge, followed by security vulnerabilities and integration with existing systems. But if one looks a bit more carefully, they will realize that around 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 enterprises are facing all of those challenges you see in front of you. This is another key takeaway here. We also asked enterprises about their location coverage needs, and we saw that one single geographical area in one country is needed by almost half of enterprises, with the rest stating a need for also multi-site or multi-country or multi-continent coverage. This is a very important finding, considering that mobile operators have traditionally focused on their home networks. With the rise of more modern IoT use cases, operators will have to provide the same level of service in international markets as well. Wrapping it all up, it is clear that a big part of operators are considering their optimal strategy for IoT, and they have the challenge of defining their IoT market in a way that's profitable and allows them to address actual enterprise needs. The path towards this will involve a careful rethink of strategies, the user right enabling platforms, lowering of the costs, and the combination of useful operator assets, new capabilities, and partnerships. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Jigar from Flow Live to walk you through Flow Live's composition.
Thank you, Christina, and hi, everybody. This is Jigar Swali from Flow Live, and I will hope to give you an introduction about Flow Live and how we are enabling IoT for mobile operators. Thank you, Christina. Next slide. So just a bit about the company profile and what Flow Live does. So our aim is to make sure that we connect any device to the internet and make sure it has unmatched coverage, availability, performance, security, and efficient support. And this is underpinned and powered by what we've built as the world's largest cellular network. We are about 170 employees in Flow Live, with about 70% of us in R&D, and a global company headquartered in the UK, where I'm based, offices in the EU, in the US, and in Israel. And below you see a few of our enterprise and MNO customers who we're working with, from the likes of Qualcomm, obviously Bayobab, Telit, module manufacturer, Helix Wireless, Sparkle, and NOT as well. Next slide, please, Christina. So the Flow Live solution, as we see it, is built globally. And what we've done is we've distributed multiple POPs across the world. And this is all controlled centrally from our localized central control, which is backed with the real-time billing, our SIM management, and our connectivity management. And apart from the cellular connectivity, we've also added the satellite connection. So one of the key things is that we develop and own our entire cellular connectivity technology stack, including our unique multi-profile SIM technology. Okay, we are also forming strategic relations with the best MNOs in each region to ensure we have the best connectivity. We are ensuring that we have local core networks distributed locally in key regions globally to ensure that whenever the IoT SIM is connected, it's connected to the best local POP. And as I said, we've got satellite to complement our cellular coverage, because we know that there are certain areas where cellular doesn't cover it entirely. Next slide, Christina. So Flow Live owns a modern, flexible, and holistic technology stack. And this technology stack consists of 4 distinct building blocks that work together as a holistic platform. This is our full core network. We have a real-time rating and billing engine, obviously our RSP and SIM management, and then our connectivity management that allows us to manage the global connectivity. All of this is running in real time. It's cloud native. It's microservices driven, so that you don't need huge computing powers to be able to deliver this. And it's API driven as well as our portal that we can use to deliver our services. Okay. Next slide, Christina. So how we do this is we offer the best-in-class service availability. So we have a single SIM with multiple mobile network operator profiles, and each profile has access to multiple local networks. Okay. And each of these profiles, it's important to know that they're running on geo-redundant core networks to ensure that we have high availability on each of the profiles. And more importantly, the customer or the end user is the one who is in charge of defining the logic for when these profiles should switch over, whether it's cost, whether it's coverage, whether it's better access. All of this is controlled by the customer, and they can decide the logic and change the logic remotely. Okay, and again, it's autonomously switching over. So in case a profile is not available, it automatically switches over. It's transparent to the user and ensures that the device has got consistent connectivity to the best available network at all times. Next one, Christina, please. So here we are offering what we call the best of both worlds, where we have a single SIM option for all connectivity capabilities. And we are agnostic to any form factor, and we would enable this at the factory. And we would make sure that there is a FlowLive eSIM multi-IMSI profile set up as the first profile, which could also be the bootstrap. Okay. We can provide factory testing to ensure that when the devices are manufactured in one place and shipped out to another place, that the factory testing is available. And we switch the IMSI in one of the three possible methods, where it's autonomous or automatic. We can do it over the air, so we can remotely send a command to switch the IMSI or the profile from one profile to another profile. Or we can use what we call device or AT commands, which allows integration at the device level to be able to also control and switch over the IMSI. Okay, and again, where needed, we can switch to a specific MNO eSIM profile using Bootstrap as well. So as you can see on the SIM graphic, you can have FlowLive as a Bootstrap profile and a second MNO profile, and you can switch that with any of the three methods. And you don't need to activate to deactivate the SIM. It is all done remotely or all done at factory, which ensures that you're agnostic to the SIM form factor and that you have the best of both worlds with the eSIM and actually the multi-IMSI app that we offer. Christina? Of course, it's nice having all the connectivity, multi-network options, and having all of this. But without security, I think we have a big problem. So we make sure that because we have the holistic technology ownership and infrastructure control, we can apply maximum security across all the layers. Starting on top with the SIM, we have secure OTA communications to ensure that we can remotely control the SIM, and it's via secure OTA. On the core network level, again, because it's a core network that's owned and operated by FlowLive, we have our internal and advanced security mechanism. We have real-time network info that ensures that we can prevent any security breaches that may happen. We are hosting, in terms of IT and where we host the networks, in a very highly secure infrastructure, including AWS and OCI. And on the application layer as well, we're making sure that we have secure login, user tokens, anti-fraud analytics, and we actually carry out regular red team penetration tests to ensure that our network is as secure as possible at all times. In terms of compliance, we have all the compliance with SOC 2, ISO 27001 to ensure that not only is it secure, but it's compliant and up to standards. Next slide, please, Christina. In summary, the premium connectivity, what we offer and how we do it. So we have what we believe is the best cellular coverage in the world. And how are we offering, or how are we delivering this best cellular coverage in the world, is by having a very deep integration with at least 2 leading mobile operators per country to ensure better coverage in 192 countries globally. The highest availability on the market. So because we have the multiple mobile network operator profiles per SIM card with the autonomous failover on the card, on the SIM card, it means that we can offer 99.9% uptime. Unparalleled performance, obviously, because of our local points of presence and POP sites globally, and this deep integration with MNOs, we can enable low latency and regulatory compliance through the local data termination and breakout in each of these POP sites. Obviously, the end-to-end network security, because we have our own core network, billing, the SIM applet, and all the features that you saw on the previous slide, we're able to provide network-based and closed-loop security for the IoT ecosystem. Obviously, all of this, we want to offer it in a very simplified way. So from the perspective, there's no need to manage multiple carriers, multiple SKUs. You have a single solution that is agnostic to the form factor and allows you to go and offer your IoT connectivity globally. And our exceptional customer service. So we have the network and technology ownership means we have deep understanding and real-time insights on what is going on everywhere uniformly across the world. And we have a 24/7 human support team that's available to serve you support you better than the rest of the other offerings on the market. Thank you, Christina. I think I'll hand over now to Arnie to talk us through Bayobab.
Okay. As always, you need to turn on the microphone. Thank you, Jager, and thank you, GSMA, for the invite and where we can present our IoT findings. My name is Arne Kastelein, and I happily guide you through this presentation. Next slide, Christina. Okay, so in a nutshell, who is Bayobab? Okay, so we renamed ourselves from MTN Global Connect about 2 years ago. And for the logo, we got our inspiration of the Bayobab tree. Bayobab tree is a tree of life, very well known in Africa and the Middle East. So like I said, we are 100% owned subsidiary of the MTN Group, and we are very proud to be an African company. We are focused on connectivity, again, in the same region, Africa, and we build our own infrastructure via local and global partnerships, but also via our own investments. Bayobab, as such, is the international wholesale business unit or division of MTN. Next slide, please. So when it comes into terms of vision, mission, and core belief, we try to be very clear on that. We serve the African communities. We connect the African communities locally, but also with the rest of the world. This, we hope to improve the local economies and contribute positively in general to a better quality of life. Data services is therefore very key, and IoT, Internet of Things, will help the local economies there. Thank you. Next slide. Okay, so we walk the talk. So we have implemented 135,000 kilometers of fiber that will be and expanding, with together 235 landing stations. So we do this across Africa. Africa consists of 54 countries. And not only that, we can go to the next slide. You can see there the geography of all the subsea cables and the overland cables. In addition to that, we have 9 local offices in Africa, mostly in countries where we have MTN, but also some of them outside of that. So we try to be close to the local business in Africa. Thank you. So not only do we have connectivity in terms of cables, physical cables, but also we cater to mobile networks. Therefore, our other division within Bayobab is called Communications Platform, where we cater for international voice, international messaging, international roaming, and we have an IPX backbone. On top of that sits our IoT proposition. They are all connected through the fiber and through our backbone over IPX. So a customer can enjoy one or more of our mobility offerings here within a single agreement. So our offering is quite large from that, and it's a one-stop shop, kind of. Next slide, please. So the next slide gives a more detailed overview of our offerings. So of course, IoT, but within voice, we do voice hubbing. We provide cloud numbers as well. Then within messaging, we have A2P, P2A, and P2P services. And in IPX, we have also a nice portfolio. In roaming ties very nicely with IoT and IPX, so it provides a connectivity layer for IoT. Thank you. We can go next. Okay. So together in partnership with the Flow Live, as you heard Jigar talking about Flow Live, so together we have deployed our IoT platform. And this is to cater to global enterprises seeking an African multi-mobile network coverage for their IoT devices. So our IoT platform incorporates the Flow Live core network, the connectivity management platform, and local packet gateways. The latter is important to reduce latency. Christina mentioned, 56% of customers is seeking multi-network, multi-coverage. And this is what we endeavor to provide. So our reach with Bayobab is already quite large in Africa, and we are expanding this on a weekly basis, I must say. Now, together with Flow Live, with their multi-IMSI reach, again, was highlighted by Jigar. This combination gives us a very nice, good coverage across the entire African region. Next slide, please. So challenges, as in every project, we had some challenges, which is quite normal. So when we started, of course, we implemented, or we thought first about the strategy and then how to implement it. So first of all, we needed scale. We know for sure IoT is growing in Africa, but how fast and what is the actual potential? That is the main question here, which is very hard to answer, because every analyst has different opinions. It depends on what report you are reading. You come to a conclusion that it's going to be billions and billions of devices, or it will be millions. And the difference is quite big. So therefore, we needed a scalable platform from the start. One thing we will always be certain is that IoT is a growing market for us as mobile networks. And the easiest way to scale a platform is, of course, in the cloud. So hence, the IoT platform that we have is in the cloud and has also 5G capabilities, because 5G is also growing in Africa. And lastly, local breakout is also very important, because some use cases demand a very low latency. And with our packet gateways, we can cater for that. When it comes to revenues, of course, revenues are important. But how do we deal with that compared to an investment? So revenues over time finance the increased demand for capacity, which again then, when you need capacity, you make the investment, the revenues come in, and it's a cycle. So again, with our own financing, we can increase the capacity based on the demand. And lastly, another challenge, there are more, but these are the main three, is the compliance to regulation. So keeping up to date with the local regulations can be quite tricky to navigate. And we needed to be sure that Bayobab and our customers are compliant to the local regulations. So we need to stay on top of that. The technology that we have also takes this into account, especially when we talk about security. So the IoT devices, the SIM cards, the connectivity needs to be very secure, and this is what we aim for. Next slide, please. Yes. So in a nutshell, with our partnership, it helped us to implement a solution that was quickly up and running as such, the platform. And as it is a cloud-based service, we can quickly expand the capacity. Now, with our global IMSI, so the Bayobab global IMSI, bundled with the Flow Live IMSI, like I said, we cover the entire Africa. Now, customers can opt also for their own IoT platform or use ours. If they use their own IoT platform, we can easily connect over API to others. Yeah. So these are the main solution drivers. Thank you, Christina. Next one. Yeah. So when operating a new service in Africa, you need to keep the operating costs at the lowest level as possible. Because the roaming data prices, not everybody knows this, but we still have one of the highest roaming data prices on wholesale in the world. And that is a key factor when going to enterprise customers for IoT. Whilst the roaming data prices are dependent on our roaming partners, at least we can control our own OPEX costs to operate our platform. And this we have kept to a minimum. Thank you. Next slide. So lastly, the use case in Africa, at this moment, I can say that the majority is in the automotive sector, also utilities, logistics, and asset management, and security, so security cameras. Yeah. These are the big uptakes, let's say, in data volumes we have seen. However, more and more special African use cases come up that you don't see in other parts of the world. For example, wildlife management is one of them. Tracking of leased automotive vehicles such as motorbikes or bicycles. So these are quite interesting use cases. And we are confident that the increase and demand for demand will go more over the years to come. So that's why our platform, our offering also takes this into account with all the things I mentioned before. And we are ready today, and we are ready for the future. Thank you so much. Some of our awards that we collected over time. So we are the best African connectivity provider, also the best infrastructure provider, and the best wholesale operator. These are some of the awards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Arne. Thank you both, and thanks everyone for staying with us. Thanks to Jigar and Arne for your presentations, guys. It's really impressive. I'm personally coming from a background of having worked on Flow Life's understanding and proposition for the last few months, and I was really impressed with some achievements that were revealed to me through this Bayobab collaboration. Now, let's appreciate that, as research suggests as well, that not all operators feel like they can confidently address IoT or perhaps specific parts of IoT. And I'd like to start this conversation by directing a question to you, Arne. So help us understand a little bit of your thinking as a mobile network operator right before your partnership, let's say with Flow Live, and what were your key factors, key considerations, or concerns you were having, and you were thinking, okay, yeah, this is what I need from a partnership in IoT?
Yeah. Thank you, Christina. Good question. Okay, we thought long and hard how we're gonna cater for this. We knew there was a demand, and we knew also we came a bit late to the party, because I've been working with IoT since 2008, 2009 already. Yeah. In Africa at that time, when we started thinking about this back in 2018, that is with MTN. We looked at, okay, there was a demand, but not so quite high, and the investment is quite big to do an IoT platform. So from the start, it was key to find a good, interesting partner to help us with that. And again, so what we looked for was a scalable platform, so not a huge investment from day one. So scalable, it had to be in the cloud. It had to have all the security measures. It had to be future-proof. It had to be capable of local breakouts. And it had to have the knowledge, because at that time, our knowledge was limited as an operator. So the knowledge in billing, for example, in onboarding a customer. So the many things where our partner could help us with. So these were the more or less the main things we looked at to bring on board a partner.
And I think it was in your presentation that you brought up a very impressive data point: 70% reduction in costs, in infrastructure costs. I think this is really impressive. I'd like to maybe ask Jigar to share a bit more with us. Like, obviously, you touched on so many fronts. As for how you are enabling operators to address more of the IoT market more profitably, I would say. Would you like to elaborate a bit more? Maybe we can cover this 70% a bit. It's really interesting.
Sure, Christina. Thank you. And let's go with the headline of 70%. Maybe the message to all the mobile operators looking to monetize their IoT platform is to come to Flow Live and we will save you money. But how do we do this? So the idea behind this is, as Arnie was saying, you're coming up with challenges to say, right, we want to do IoT, but we are intimidated by the cost of it. The ARPU is not going to be the same as when we do retail or other mobile offerings. So how do we make sure that when we do go down this path, it's going to be profitable and it's not going to create an issue, right? So how Flow Live is enabling mobile operators to reduce this is by lowering their TCO. And how do we lower this TCO? So obviously, the cloud-based infrastructure reduces immediately your capex and also moves it into an opex model, right? So instead of coming in with large investments upfront, we are a scalable platform. So you move to an operating model which says, right, as you grow your business, as you're billing your customers, you're paying us as your technology partner, as your solution provider, but it is linked to your growth, right? So you pay as you grow. Okay, we're offering our dedicated core network as a service, which basically is a lot more cheaper than offering a full-scale network that you would do if you're a traditional MNO, not offering IoT, okay? Again, so we have the network, and then what's the point of this? The whole point of this is the connectivity. So we're going to optimize for the MNO, as we said, for Arnie and for Bayobab. We optimize these connectivity costs with our multi-IMSI offering, okay? And eSIM technologies, which further reduces the operational complexities and costs associated with the traditional physical SIM ports and management of that. Okay. We are also providing the local breakout points and local packet gateways regionally or within the country to ensure that the data transport costs are reduced as much as possible. As Arnie alluded to earlier, that the costs of data in Africa are quite high. So whatever we can do to mitigate these costs and also at the same time reduce the data latency, it's a win-win situation for everybody. Okay. Another thing that we are helping with the mobile operators is to make sure that we are simplifying the operations with a unified connectivity management platform via our aggregation, ensuring that the management and the administration to run these connectivity management is also reduced, hence saving more money instead of having a dedicated team or a specific team for that. Okay. And in order to do all of this, we want to make sure that it's done quickly and the time to market is fast. Okay, so as we said earlier, we have a full API-driven integration, which makes sure that we can integrate very, very quickly with industry standard APIs. So the time to market is very, very quick. And operators can integrate and provision services quickly and ensure that because their time to market is quick, they can deliver and cash in on these revenues fast and make sure that the ROI is achieved as quick as possible. Okay. Now, traditionally, it was very difficult to offer different pricing. And with IoT, we know that operators need to offer flexible and activation-based pricing rather than the traditional, connection commitments that were there traditionally non-IoT based. Okay. Now, what this does is further then enables the enterprises to be able to scale their deployments cost effectively because they are not in turn just faced with a large upfront bill to be able to go and carry out their IoT deployments. Okay. This aligns very, very well, I think, with the enterprise dynamic IoT needs, making sure that the enterprises adopt IoT and minimize churn on the mobile operator level. Okay. And as part of the whole solution delivery to mobile operators, we are providing a suite of self-service tools which allows the operators, which empowers the operators and their customers to be able to manage their IoT connectivity needs and the connection themselves to ensure that they have real-time visibility of everything that happens on their IoT devices and connectivity, which in turn minimizes the support and technical calls that go into the operator, and again, further reducing operational costs. Okay, so we believe that this whole range of strategies allows the mobile operators to reduce the TCO and make sure that the IoT becomes, a commercially viable venture for them. I hope that helps.
Yes, it's thanks for this. To me, it all looks like the operator needs to be best prepared in terms of the tools they have in place, the platforms they are able to address, like varying needs of enterprises in terms of pricing mechanisms and models, or a lot of talking around the scaling up and down, which is all interesting, of course. And I think the result should always be, I'm an operator, I need to be able to address, let's say, the IoT market broadly, so to not be hindered, let's say, by different use cases, different enterprise needs, etc., but also be able to go more deeply into the verticals that are more relevant to me. Now, Arne, in your presentation, you touched on automotive and adjacent industries like logistics, transportation. I think some of micromobility things as well. And I think, everyone who's in IoT knows that automotive is a very key use case and vertical for operators and for cellular IoT in general. It's also backed up by all the research we have available. It's usually the automotive vertical and transportation sectors that have, let's say, more awareness, more appetite for IoT. Now, can you tell us a little bit more about your, let's say, interactions with these companies, and now that you have been, let's say, best prepared to address their needs in the wider automotive segment?
Yeah, thank you, Christina. Yeah, the automotive sector, as you said, is a very interesting sector. Why? Because the demand is growing. So we see that we participate directly or indirectly to partners on RFPs of car manufacturers or groups of car manufacturers, include truck manufacturers there too. I include also agriculture, like tractors and all that in there. So that is really growing business. We can see that. And it's quite interesting for us because, look, we see the model as everybody looks after their own expertise and what they do best in their core business. Yeah, so a car manufacturer is the best to make the car, not the mobile operator. We are the best in providing connectivity, not the car manufacturer. Yeah, we are not an IoT platform builder. That's why we go into partnership with the Flow Live. So this marriage of multi partnerships works the best in our IoT industry. Secondly, when we talk about automotive, because it is mobile, these devices in the cars and in the mobiles work across borders. So you have to cater for that as well. Hence, we introduced our global IMSI. Now, the global IMSI, compared to a local IMSI, has the benefit that it can connect to multiple networks, to multiple mobile networks in countries. Whereas a local IMSI normally can connect only to the local network. There's no in-country roaming possible. So again, that's very important for the automotive industry. And then another thing is, of course, the billing and settlement. We have to make it easy. Complex billing models don't really work in the automotive industry. Why is that? Because the consumer who at the end buys the car will most likely pay a monthly fee, or that connectivity fee for IoT will be included in the maintenance of the car or the lease price of the car. So car manufacturers want to have this as easy as possible, so that you don't have to reconcile at the end of the month the exact consumption of the infotainment in the car or the telemetrics of the car. So keep it simple will also be my motto. And then just a last point still on the coverage, which is predominantly the most important thing for car manufacturers. Is also in our partnership, we have multiple IMSIs. So not only the Bayobab global IMSI, which will connect to a large list of mobile networks in Africa, but where we don't have coverage, with the partnership, we can add IMSIs to that, which will then in turn provide that lack of coverage, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
And Jigar, what would be your perspective? Obviously, if you can give us a little bit from your experience with Bayobab and servicing like African-based country markets, with automotive, but I'm assuming you have a lot of other inputs from your customers and from your market, including, let's say, even automotive customers as well. So even if, let's say, an automotive customer, they have, let's say, evolving needs, if you can give us, let's say, a glimpse into where things are headed with this segment.
Sure. Thank you, Christina. Again, yes, absolutely. And I will add on to what Arnie said. So you're right. With the partnership that we have with Bayobab, and also bringing our experience with other partnerships and automotive use cases that we have dealt with in Africa. So I think the key here is first to understand that automotive companies have very specific IoT needs. And once you recognize these needs, then you can address them. Okay. So what does automotive IoT involve? It usually involves multiple connected elements with varying requirements. So as Arnie also said earlier, split billing. So usually in the automotive, you usually have dual APN or two APNs. One is for the telemetry APN and one is for the infotainment. So one goes back to the manufacturer of the car and the other one is used for user experience and user content like Spotify, Google Maps, Apple Maps, what have you. Okay, so to ensure that you can bill what is correctly to the customer and what goes to the automotive operator. You also need to ensure and account for different quality of services on the different IoT needs that are running for automotive. So does telemetry get a higher QoS than infotainment? So this is something that you need to be very, very aware of and work. There may be specific elements in the car that need to have higher QoS. So you need to address those. Okay. Regulatory compliance as well for diverse use cases. So for example, we have ADAS, which is the Advanced Driver Assistance System. There may be some regulatory compliance to make sure that the ADAS and driver safety is always a priority. Okay, you need to make sure that. How does infotainment work? You need to be able to make sure that the infotainment is localized for within that region. So if you're in a specific country, you need to localize for languages, for content restrictions, how it would work in specific regions, whether it's regional, country specific, or continent-wide. Telematics as well. Obviously, the manufacturer is putting in IoT in there to be able to get as much insights into the data of the car as possible. And then we obviously have up and coming autonomous vehicles and what the needs for autonomous vehicles are as well, which are very different and a lot more complex than you would have for cars with drivers. Okay. Now, another need is, as Arnie said, and these cars are moving around. They're not just localized to one country. So you need to make sure that they have reliable multi-country coverage because of the mobility. You need to make sure that there's very low latency and high quality comms on this for safety features, eCall being one of them. So that has to be taken into account. Again, compliance with the regulations and standards. For example, NG 1112 in Europe is one of the regulations that you need to make sure you comply with. And from the automotive car manufacturer, they want to make sure that the sensitive telemetry data is secure. So when it's transported from the car back to their systems, it's secure and real time and that no one else has access to that data. And FlowLive has recognized these needs. Obviously, as time evolves and we get more and more experience, we will make sure that we address them. But we are currently working with Bayobab and the other partnerships and making sure that we are augmenting the global IMSI that Bayobab have with our coverage, with our multi-IMSI approach. We are making sure that we have localized packet gateway and breakouts for the reduced latency and localization. And our dedicated core network to ensure that it's securely managed. Okay, and all of this, I think, is helping us to serve the automotive IoT needs quite well at the moment.
Thanks for this. It'd be great if we were able to maybe a bit more briefly cover utilities as well. Arne, you touched on this. Can you maybe quickly share with us what type of use cases you are serving at Bayobab with IoT and utilities? And maybe for me to put a reminder in our audience, if anyone wants to ask a question, we will have time for a couple of audience questions after, so feel free to put them in the Q&A box. Arne?
Yeah, thank you, Christina. Yeah, I would be quite interested to hear from the audience some questions, so I'll quickly try to cover utilities, which is not a complex use case, to be honest. Yeah. So, okay, utilities, and we think about the meters, the gas meters, the water meters, electricity meters, for example, that are automated by giving the control centrally, so that the consumers don't have to fill in the forms anymore, etc., to get their billing. You know, that basically, essentially, is that. Now, so there will be a SIM, a physical SIM, or a soldered SIM, most likely in those meters, and the meters will send an update, once in a while to the central unit of the utility company. So by just saying that, everybody understands, okay, the data consumption is very low, but the volume of meters is very high. So the combination of that is it's still a good source of revenue for anybody in the IoT world to cater for utilities. Utilities are placed, everywhere where people live, or those devices are placed. So the coverage is sometimes an issue there. So that's the main challenge for utility companies, the coverage. So if you have 1, 2, 3 networks, mobile networks in the country, they all will cover some parts of the country better than others, and there might be gaps where there's no coverage even. Then you can find another solution for that. But if there's one operator, and for example, you have from that one operator IMSIs installed in those meters, then where that operator doesn't have coverage, logically the meter will work, but not the update over the air. So hence, what we have is the global IMSI. I think I mentioned this already, where you can have multiple network connectivity. And that is quite interesting for utility companies. So they move more and more away from a local IMSIs, from the local operator, and go more for, let's say, foreign IMSIs or global IMSIs. Now, global IMSI is a much neater way of providing service to the utility companies. Why? Because we have our own billing code. In the roaming world, it's called a TADIC code. So our own code and our IMSIs are dedicated for IoT, opposed to other operators that might provide their IMSIs which are blended in with standard roaming, human roaming, I would say. So I think that is, we offer quite a clear, transparent way of an IoT service for utilities.
Thank you, Arne. Jigar, any quick comments on utilities needs and how you are helping operators address these?
Yes, sure. I could add to what Arnie's saying. Again, we know the challenges, and we're covering those with the multi-IMSI, multi-network operator. And I think with utilities, there is you need to understand who is taking ownership of this. Is it the smart meter manufacturer who is basically going to augment their offering and say, right, I am going to embed connectivity when I manufacture my meter so that the utilities company can buy this as a service? Is it going to be the energy provider who is going to basically procure the meters and then add the SIM cards as an aftermarket dealing, or is it going to be the regulator who is going to drive this, right? So we need to understand who is this. But I think the ownership depends on the commercial model. But generally, if it's the smart meter manufacturer, which is what we are working with directly via our partnership with Bayobab, then they prefer a turnkey solution from providers like FlowLive and Bayobab, which makes sure that, again, as I alluded to earlier in my presentation, is we're able to go and provide these smart meter manufacturers at their factory with a SIM card that they will embed. They will be able to test in factory, ship these out to wherever the smart meter deployments are, and make sure they're there. Now, one of the key things about utilities is it's a long tail deployment. So the delta between the first smart meter going into the ground and the last smart meter being installed is usually several years. So apart from the challenges of connectivity, we have to make sure that you have longevity. And that's why Bayobab, which is part of the MTN group, is one of the best placed mobile operators to address this IoT use case in Africa because of their track record and because they are going to be here and can ensure longevity of this connectivity.
I think that's a great parting comment. I think unfortunately we have very little time for Q&A. Maybe we can address one question. The speakers, guys, you are welcome to take a look at the chat and then maybe pick one question to address, and the rest we are more than happy to follow up with the attendees. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we had a question around how you address restrictions of subscriber profile management within country boundaries, and especially in developing countries that are driven by political motives. Anyone want to take on that? It's by Robert.
Okay, I don't see the question myself. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading.
We are getting some interesting messages that more of your service is needed in some markets. Yeah. If you have any quick comments on that one, otherwise I suggest to wrap things up.
Well, I can quickly add 10 seconds to that. So the way we do the subscriber management is to make sure that we are compliant with the local regulatory in the country and make sure that for IoT, it's specific to what would be different for retail users. So it's based on each country, and we make sure that the way it's done is in compliance with the local regulatory authority. Yeah, as I said, I'll keep it short. We can always address this later on. I hope that helps.
Great. And at this point, I'd like to thank you very much for your participation. It's been thoroughly enjoying for myself as well to learn more about your companies and your contribution to the IoT space. And with that, I'd like to wrap things up for today's webinar and to thank everyone for staying with us. We will follow up with you certainly and share with you the report we did together. And we'll follow up on individual questions we didn't have time to address. Thanks very much.
Thank you too.
Thank you all.
Thanks everybody.
Thank you all. Take care. Bye.
Bye.